Hey, Abby, how are you doing? It's good to see you.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
All right. So we're here to talk about earfleek.com today, which is sort of an interesting concept you came up with. But before we get into that, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, college, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. So I actually didn't go to college. I went to a program called Y Combinator in winter 13. I had a company called BeatDeck and Trust. There was actually two companies, Trustable and then BeatDeck. And we sold those in 2015 before I founded Skirt. I'm actually right now going back into education after all that. I'm actually doing an MBA out here in the University of Cambridge. So just like wild ride. But yeah, I sold Skirt and I founded Skirt rather. It got sold to Fair.com a couple of years back and started Earfleek, I want to say in 2016, 2017, around then.
That's pretty cool. So you're sort of a serial entrepreneur, it sounds like.
Unfortunately, I think, it's actually like an interesting conversation about like the concepts about serial entrepreneurs. I'd argue it's like a vice entrepreneur. Like it's kind of like if you gamble and that feeling when you're like, oh, I don't know, I shouldn't do this, but I really want to, and you get that rush and that excitement, that adrenaline. I see a lot of similarities between that and being an entrepreneur. So unfortunately, yes, I seem to be a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah, well, the bottom line is if you're having fun,
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
matter what label you put on it.
yeah. I'm actually I'm doing some consulting interviews with like McKinsey and BCG and all those guys. And the way I'm framing it is I'm a reformed entrepreneur, which
Yeah.
I think is the right way to look at it.
Okay, cool. Well, let's talk about earfleek.com. Why don't you give us a little overview about it?
Absolutely. So the business is really, really simple. I'm actually like really, really excited. I think like in my life, like the coolest thing I've ever done is actually Earfleek. And it sounds kind of silly because it looks like just an earring subscription, right? So it's solving so many different problems. It's like so brilliant in its inception. At least I think so, but I'm a little bit biased. But the idea is it's just a monthly earring subscription. It's $3.50. Women get a pair of earrings every month. They keep it. No ands, ifs, or buts, no tricks, no keep it fees or cancellation charges or anything like that. And the reason I think it's so brilliant is that one of the reasons subscriptions work is they're able to bid the lifetime value of a customer on like direct response ad sites. So if you don't really know too much about that world, kind of like Facebook and all these places, the reason that Facebook's $1 billion company and Lamar or whoever sells billboards isn't, is that Facebook has got a unique way in letting people bid for each time they show an ad. So you can be like very, very granular and really, really understand how much you're paying to acquire a customer. And because of this like meritocratic democratization of ads, the real value of the real amount you can bid on Facebook isn't how much money your board's giving you. It's based on how much money are you certain that you can get off that customer. So
Right.
subscription businesses have like this long tail of customers, which means that they much better understand or they can much better calculate the value of a customer rather than someone selling just a one-off product and saying, hey, I hope this person refers me to their friend or something like that attributable, right? So the problem with subscription businesses is most of them are really, really expensive. So if you think of the Tote, or that's a company me and my co-founder actually worked at, or Stitch Fix, or all those different subscription boxes, they're $40, $50, $60 FabFitFun. And the problem is that kind of ruins the ability for like that advantage you have on the direct response ad channels. The reason why this is because at $50, very few people, or at least not as many people, are signing up for that the first time they see it. So your conversion rate's low, and then people will stay 1 or 2 months and they'll churn out, right? So if you have a very, very, very low priced subscription box, you first of all have a very, very high conversion rate, which means you're getting a lot of customers, which has like this compounding effect. And then you also have a very, very long lifetime of that customer, and that allows you to bid more money on Facebook and really beat out the competition. So I know that it's like a really long way to explain like the but basically, Earfleek was built originally as a way to arbitrage that function. And if you think about it, like Dollar Shave Club does something similar, but they're much more expensive. They're like $5, $8, something like that nowadays.
Right.
So yeah.
So you're really focused on capturing people the first time they see you and building a volume.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. We were focused on keeping customers for a very long time and having very high conversion rate. So,
right.
and then a lot of the magic obviously is how to make margin at a $3.50 subscription, right? And the reason no other box, but that's like our biggest advantage is most other companies, like even Dollar Shave Club, the reason they're priced so much higher is that, forget the actual product you're shipping, the cost of shipping something in the continental US is quite expensive, right? And so we ship much cheaper than, we actually ship cheaper than Amazon, just based on a lot of studying. It's a different conversation, but yeah.
Yeah. You've made a good deal with the shipping company.
No, so okay, fine, I'll tell you, fine. So basically, think about a magazine or like those big manila envelopes lawyers send.
Mm-hmm.
The reason they're so cheap to send is that they process in a certain way through certain machines, so no one at the post office is actually touching them, right?
Right.
So they're a certain level of thickness, they bend a certain munch, they're a certain aspect ratio, and if you design and there's like a bunch of those different rules, but if you design a product that fits all those requirements, you can actually ship consumer merchandise for the same price as a magazine. So I spent like 6 months of my life flying back and forth from China and dealing with the post office, which I can assure you is not a very fun thing to do. And so I actually designed a package that allows me to ship earrings. And so I'm paying not very much. I'm paying
right.
basically what bulk mailers pay to actually ship. And then, this is like anywhere in the US in less than 3 days. It's like, quality, because, they don't want to lose an important law document or bill or anything. So it's like, it's an amazing situation.
Well, that's cool. I mean, that's how you keep profit margin.
Yeah, absolutely.
So walk me through sort of, if someone signs up, they start paying the $349. How does it work? Do you immediately start shipping them earrings? There are additional costs to them, or how does that work?
No cost. That's the cool thing, right? So like we're all about customer retention, and so literally that's it. They sign up. Now over the years we've built a bunch of stuff to make that retention to increase customer retention and obviously increase our internal costs. So for one example, customers can now swipe through prospective inventory, and then we place purchase orders based on that. For us, it's really great because that means that we're not going and actually picking a bunch of earrings, or we're having customers choose what's going to be popular. And then from the customer's perspective, it means that they're going to get product that they like much more likely than if I'm going to a factory and designing the earrings.
Right. So there's no additional cost, and they get one set of earrings every month?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know how you able to manufacture earrings that inexpensively, but obviously you figured it out.
That's another trick. So I'll tell you that trick. Again, I love this business. There's so many different amazing hacks that just kind of came together. Earrings, so there's really two components of an earring. It's the design and the actual material it's produced from, right? And the design is the same whatever the material you're producing it from. And most companies, from Anthropologie, which is pricing the earrings at $60, down to Claire's or Walmart, they're charging them $5 to $10, are basically using the same designs, maybe more or less components, and they're just using slightly different material. Now here's the crazy thing. The cheaper the material, the more likely it is to have nickel. And women are allergic to nickel, and therefore people with sensitive ears don't buy cheap jewelry. However, when I looked into it, zinc is a non-nickel material that's cheaper than nickel. So I would literally go to these factories and say, hey, is there any way to produce these same styles cheaper? And they would say, yeah, but it's not going to have any lead or ink, not going to have any lead or nickel in it. Is that okay? And I'm like, oh, that's perfect. So yeah, it kind of just turns out that no one's thought to use, and it's higher quality. It's like across the board better. It's just not nickel. There's some communication gap over there.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So where did you kind of come up with the idea for this?
Gotcha. So I was working on a handbag subscription, which is the exact opposite of an earring subscription, in that it's much more expensive to ship. The conversion rate's pretty low. The retention is pretty low because people get tired of handbags. And I really loved the idea of subscription boxes, but I wanted something that took up less space, was cheaper to produce, people didn't get bored of, cheaper to ship, etc. And basically, if you think of like what is the opposite of a handbag, it's an earring.
Yeah. Well, you sort of came up with the smallest item maybe in the fashion world, right?
Yeah. And it's so one of the smallest. I think like there's like eyelashes, necklaces, bracelets, face masks. There's a lot of things we're like toying with. The problem is that when you're priced as low as we are, even though we're honestly offering like really good quality, but people just get in their head that when things are cheap, they're crappy. So one of our vendors actually supplies Korean face masks. So when we say face masks now in COVID times, it means something very different than 2 years ago. But face masks, like that people put on their face, like the black nose stuff.
Yeah.
So we bought those that retail for like $8-12, and we started to price them at $3, and like literally identical. And no one would buy them because they thought it was bad quality. And it's like, you can't, like, how do you educate customers? But yeah, the earrings are the cheapest product that people are okay with paying less for.
Yeah. Well, the thing you just said, it's interesting, the psychology of that. I've talked to people in the past that are like, I had this course that I was selling, and I was selling it for $100, and I was getting, a lot of complaints. I was having to answer a lot of questions. And so I tripled the price, and all the complaints went away, and the sales were phenomenal.
Yeah. It's crazy how, so I actually like, I'm taking a class on like consumer behavior, and like there's like so many boring research articles about like, all these different like it's kind of like arguments against the efficient market hypothesis. So like how crazy people are, like price anchoring is a thing, overconfidence is a thing, risk aversion is a thing, right? Cannerman, all those guys. Like it's just crazy how much like the human mind can really be hacked,
Yeah. Cool. So what's the main way that you get customers? Is it the Facebook ads that you mentioned? Is it organic?
So we do have a fair amount of organic traffic. Just there's like a built-in like referral mechanism in the sense that our product's like so cheap and so cool that people just refer each other, right? But I'd say almost all of our paid traffic comes through Facebook.
Through Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. So do you have, are there any competitors?
Not in our price point. I mean, I think the nearest competitor is like $8 to $12 again, and that's just the function of you can't ship it, right?
Yeah, they haven't figured out the shipping part yet.
Yeah, and it's like a lot harder than like I'm happy to tell this to you that's going to be sent out because it's like really hard to do. But even Claire's can't compete with us just based on the quality. And the other thing is we have like we're a startup, and we're like so based on data that we have like a lot of information on like what trends are going to be popular, that even companies like Claire's, right? They have like point of sale information, but I don't think they can predict we have 6 million votes every, an amount of time. Like they can't build out the infrastructure to compete with the styles. Now, obviously Claire's is a lot bigger and a lot more successful than we are, but there are like advantages to like at the point of scale that we have that kind of like prevent anyone from really competing with us.
Right. So do you have like this huge earring warehouse somewhere in the United States you're shipping from?
Yeah. We have I don't want to give away too much of our secret sauce,
Sure.
But yeah, it's in Wisconsin. We have. I like to joke with my fiance. I've bought way more earrings and handbags than any other straight male that I know.
That's funny. Well, you got some really cool stuff on the website. I took a look. I saw pizza earrings. A lot of fun things there.
Yeah, those sell really sell really well. It's funny. One of the reasons that we have let customers vote on products is I realized how bad I am with styling myself, because I looked at a bunch of earrings in the beginning and I thought these are going to be the 3 best sellers and these are going to be the 3 worst sellers. I ranked them and I saw our top sellers were like the 3 worst earrings. Just again, crazy.
That's funny. What's your most popular ones?
I think those pizzas actually. Pizzas
Really?
and pineapples are doing really, yeah. The pizzas are really, really, but we also have this little one. I don't know if you can see it on our site. It's this little ball and it's got little different colored mini balls inside them.
Mm-hmm.
It's another really popular one.
Cool. So what's the future hold? Just more growth or what?
It's a really good question. I think there's 2 worlds. We've been growing decently over the course of the last 4 years, but our growth is a function of competitiveness on Facebook. I'm happy to daydream of our company going insanely viral and us coming up with some great Facebook or YouTube video ad that's gonna take off. But realistically, I'm more than happy. It's a lifestyle business. It's paying for me to come out here and do an MBA. It takes up very, 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 very little amount of time to run, and I'm happy if things could just stay the way they are for the rest of my life. I'm happy with that too.
Yeah, well, you've invested the time and the money to put the systems in place so they can work that way.
No, absolutely.
Cool. So final question for you. You're an expert here in the subscription service industry. Would you be willing to mentor someone else who said, hey, I want to get into this?
Of course. And I think that subscription boxes are awesome because they're so easy to start. The first time I shipped an earring, I literally just bought earrings from the local flea market, and I shipped them in literal envelopes, like little white envelopes, and they all broke. And I had to refund those customers, but by then we had enough customers where I could, improve. So yeah, 100%. I love this stuff.
That's great to hear. Well, Avi, thanks for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mike.